Hey, everybody. Back again on the Peterson's Farms podcast. We've got a brilliant guest this time around. Her name is Teri Turner. She, is the head honcho over at No Crumbs Left. And we're going to hear about that. We're going to hear all about her perspective on food, business, promotion, a lot of things. And without further ado, Teri, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here, and maybe just introduce yourself in a quick minute or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Teri Turner. I'm the founder of No Crumbs Left. It's a blog, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, and it's all about inspiration for what to make for dinner. And it's also just about a slice of life. It's just about I think most of us know we don't know the answers. We're just trying to figure out what the questions are. So I think at the page, we sort of celebrate that in all its entirety.
Yes, ma'am. And for those of you who aren't familiar, which I'd be surprised if there are any, but if you aren't, Google No Crumbs Left. You'll have immediate access to all this. It's just really value add, if you ask me, for anybody who's thinking about their diet, what they're going to cook, how to cook it. Teri, how do you think about your content? I mean, the truth is, where your food comes from is a intricate, dynamic truth. Now, how you prepare it, how it provides nutrition to you. Maybe I should actually ask, let's start with, where did No Crumbs Left come from?
I've always been passionate about food, about eating, about cooking. I loved cooking for my family. My kids are now grown and out of the house, but I've always loved that experience. When I grew up in a family, my mother didn't love to cook. I think I assumed that I didn't like to cook. And when I got out of the house, what I realized is that I really did, that I love eating. That's where it starts from. And I love sort of the celebration of cooking and food. And it's been a journey. I like to say it's been my mistress for a very long time. It's taken me through, marriage and divorce, births and deaths, my kids being here, being gone. But, everyone likes to gather around the table for something delicious. And I would say my passion for that has definitely, led my life. But of course, it starts with beautiful ingredients. What is the expression? You cannot make chicken soup from chicken shit. Starts with beautiful ingredients. And so I love, to me, it starts at the farmers markets. I love going to the farmers markets. I love seeing what they have. I love the inspiration that it provides. And I like meeting foodies all along the way, whether it's my butcher, whether it's, Dirk's from the fish shop, whether you go to the farmer's market and you get your, berries from one farmer and you get, your greens from somebody else. I love that experience. And that's where it begins for me.
I think that's so true for a lot of our listeners. Like people, even in the industry, business owners, we're all still eating and we're still spending that time with our families. I have found in this community, everybody kind of has that similar thread where, man, I just want to know. I want to know the guy that raised my protein, my animal protein. I want to know I'm almost guy or gal or family that raised my produce. So it's really cool that you feel that way and you tell that story on your platform. Okay, so now this is really selfish because the thread that I want to pull on so hard is your business, like the business of No Crumbs Left. What's that all about? And is it a business?
Yeah. I mean, we started out really was just, I had an Instagram with 22 people and, I was just sort of sharing what I've always shared, which is what I like to make for dinner and how to make it, how to make delicious food. So it started really with that. And I remember at some point I was on some Instagram commenting and David said to me, "Well, we really care about you and your 44 followers." And I said to myself, "David, I think I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to do something about that." And that's kind of where it started, which was, Well, I mean, wow, what does that mean to get followers? And certainly, I mean, I'm a salesperson. I could certainly make that happen. So it was just, in that sort of building and going, well, could person get 1,000? And this is not by like, you're not following everybody back. You're just like, how could you create that presence? And so little by little, that's what I did. And I mean, here's the thing, when you have success, there's all kinds of people that help you along the way. There's all kinds of miracles that happen. I always feel like miracles are here on the planet when we open up to them and we make ourselves available to them. So along the way, just all kinds of wonderful things happen. I ran into Tim Turner, and he's a food photographer. He was a parent at my kid's school. And he was like, well, you sure, at that point, I had a bunch of people following, and he was like, but you don't know anything about photographing food. So Tim came over, he helped, he showed me how to do things, it's things like that. People just along the way that assist you. So, we developed a following, but we didn't have a blog. And so it would be like, okay, what are we going to do? Because I make my heroin chicken, heroin with an E, because you're a heroine every time you make it, to your family. And so my youngest kid said, I think we should make you a Facebook. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be on Facebook. I wasn't even on Facebook personally. I was like, I don't want to be on Facebook. So then we had to set up a personal page, and they launched it, and then they shared with friends. We shared with friends. We shared with friends. We shared with friends. I mean, we have now 500,000 people following on Facebook, but it was really my kid pressing go on that. And initially, it's like they were navigating people to my house. I was like, well, and at first it was like, I'm a chef. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not a chef. I'm a home cook. That's very different. I'm not. And then it was like, well, I'm a photographer. It's like, well, I'm absolutely not a photographer. That's how we started the Facebook. And then we could put the recipe there. Well, then it would be like, if you go back 37 posts, you can find the recipe for heroin chicken. And so eventually it was like, oh, we're going to have to make a blog, but we're not going to tell anyone. We'll just house the recipes there. People can go and find them. That's what we did. But it was likely only if people asked would we give it to them. And finally you realize, well, there's actually a business here. So my good friend, Zach, who was my roommate at the time and just like a dear friend, and we'd been collaborating together on a lot of things as friends for a long time. I said, what about this? How about, come to work for me? I'll pay you a certain amount a year. Let's just see if we can make this thing happen. So it was Zach and I doing it out of such a place of pleasure and friendship and joy. And, I'm a natural salesperson. So I'm always looking for like, okay, where can I promote that? How can I do that? Who can I partner with? How can I highlight it? And I think in the beginning, that's what I did. I did a lot of collaborations with other bloggers, where it was like, oh, let's do a giveaway together. And I remember like on a Friday night contacting Allclad, who, I was a home cook who had tagged them a bunch and saying, I'd love to do a giveaway. Could we do a giveaway for it was like a roasting pan? And they were like, absolutely. So then I went to somebody who had many more followers than I did and said, do you want to do a giveaway together? We're giving away a roasting pan. It was like, we didn't get anything, by the way. So that was the first giveaway I did. And then that became a format for a period of time where I really used that. And at that point, I collaborated with other people. Now, when I do giveaways, I don't usually collaborate with other people. But I did that for a long time. And that really elevated and grew my account. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sure. I don't even know. So let's say, what if I called you an influencer? Mm-hmm. How would that resonate?
I mean, I think I am an influencer, whatever that means, but it's like I have, 1 million people following on different platforms, and I work with, I'm a brand representative for brands that I absolutely love. And so I am. I mean, the truth is we're all
It almost seems like it. Well, okay, cool. But it seems like it's got a bit of a stigma around it these days. Do you feel like that?
I don't feel it's a stigma. No, I don't. I mean, I understand what you're saying. And maybe it's a stigma for some people. That's not the world I live in. The world I live in is that the truth is we are all in our own life influencers, whether you are in your neighborhood, whether you're at your kid's school, whether you're selling beef, we're all influencing people all of the time. So for me, I've always influenced people on food. I've always been the friend you call to say, I'm thinking about making a salad. I mean, what I do now is exactly what I've always done. It's just that many more people are following along. But I've always loved a product and shared it with my friends. I've always been the person you come to for recipes. So that is who I am. And I don't feel a stigma. I celebrate it, and it's taken me wonderful places. I'm a brand representative for different brands that I really love. A lot of people do like one off, and you're doing Colgate toothpaste, and then next month you're doing Crest, and that's not what I do. I do long-term partnerships with brands that I really, really believe in. And then we partner together for a year, and I create content for them, for my page, for their page. So that's a lot of fun, because I could never do something I didn't feel authentic about. It's simply not who I am. That may be a shortcoming, by the way, but I can't, I can only talk about things that I love and that I'm excited about. So I think we've carved out a niche, and we work with these great brands, and we have a lot of fun. And it gives me the freedom to know I've got this to count on, and then we can sort of do our thing, because, our Friday favorites is, certainly free of charge. The content on the pages, the blog is. So we really provide a lot of content for people that's of no charge. But the reality is there's no embarrassment in making a living. And I don't make any bones about that. If someone's like, oh, well, yeah, you're talking about a brand. It's like, are you assuming that I shouldn't make a living? Like, you felt like you could go to your dentist and they should, but you're feeling that Teri Turner here should only be working for free. It's like, well, I'm sorry you live in that paradigm. That's not a paradigm that I live in.
Well, I think people get burned in some ways with people that haven't built it the way you built it, which is you didn't start day one with making your living this way. So you were able to just do a thing that was authentic to you. I want the listeners to understand and to be, kind of on the lookout for those people who may not resonate with you as authentic, and don't then project that on everybody you have an opportunity within the social media world. I don't know what they're calling it, meta, whatever is. There's so many valuable. I love Teri for her authenticity and content, and it's worth money to me. So they should get to make a living doing those things that add value. Now, where'd that no crumbs left come from? Just it's so dang good that we don't leave a crumb.
Like, I did the account with my youngest, and I think it was like Teri Turner 2 and something. And there was a picture of September and I together and all of that. At some point I was like, oh, well, what are we going to name this? Because there's like a blog, and my kid who's very creative, came up with the name No Crumbs Left. And it was like, oh, this has never been taken and all of that. So that's really how we started. And that was, it was 7 years ago. I mean, I never, I was an empty nester. I sort of never intended to have this chapter. It wasn't on my radar. Today it's like I'm a home cook. Today we're writing a recipe for grilled vegetables, and somebody in the kitchen they helped me get it into recipe form. And by the time we're done, it's exhausting, because it's like you've overthought everything. And I'm like, the reality is, cut up some vegetables, put some olive oil, get them on the grill, get them off, add the vinaigrette, the feta, and some fresh herbs. That's what it is. But by the time we get into this recipe stuff, it makes me nuts, because really I'm a home cook. I'm not a recipe writer at all. So they're good because they kind of follow me around, and we keep notes, and then we make everything a few times, and I send it off to Anne, who's our recipe tester, because she'll be like, that's lovely, but that's fire, and it's not safe to do it that way. You can do it that way, Teri. So I'm like, we're doing something on a grill with the brick chicken, and we're flipping the chicken. And I'm like, somebody send it to Anne, because Anne will know, she will know that the way I've said this, I can do it on my own, but I can't tell other people to do it that way. And so I'm like, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's get it to Anne. But
it's so amazing how it evolves. It's
fun. It's fun. And I love to eat. So it's like, I'm always thinking, it gets down to, what do I want to eat? What do I want to make? What am I excited about? I had this brick chicken, and I was like, oh, brick chicken is great. It's totally old school. And I like old school dishes. I mean, I really like old school stuff. So, a lot of fun. And, and I was like, let's do this. But it's like fun to deconstruct it, to figure out how we're going to get there and how we're going to do it so another home cook can do it. And, but the truth is, I love the joy of cooking.
Well, it comes across in your content. So, I just say, and shout out to September. And I had an absolute, it was an emotional experience listening to a podcast you and her did together. And by the way, is that the right pronoun? I get to thinking about in the world today.
It's hard. We grew up in a world where there's two pronouns and that's what we know. And the reality is that our world has changed and that's not the case anymore. So there are those people who resist and say, well, I don't want the world to change. Well, the reality is the world's already changed. So,
pretend it's like an ostrich with their head in the sand. You just,
Yeah. So September's pronouns are they, them. And, and I've had to learn too. I liked the pronoun she. It was a really good pronoun. But the reality is everybody gets to have a choice of what life they want. And it's not up to your mom to decide who you are. It's up to for each of us to grab our life. And if we're living in a world where our mom's deciding, it's like, we better break away from that. We better break into a world where we're figuring out what it is we want for our own lives. And if you're going to say, I celebrate that, then you got to celebrate it, even when you're like, oh, I prefer this other thing, because it's not really, it's not really about me. And I got it,
Well, I would just say, go listen to the podcast episodes between these two. It's really heartwarming, insightful. I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you. And we're gonna have another one. We're gonna, now that we've kind of come through this journey, we're gonna close out the season probably with just the conversation of like where we're at and what that's been about for us.
What is the name of the podcast, just for everybody?
Oh, thank you. No Crumbs Left Table Talks.
There we go.
Is the podcast, and we've got I've got 90 episodes. So sometimes people come on, they're like, we do ask a story, and they're like, tell me your story. I'm like, I can't do it in 15 seconds, but I got 90 podcasts. And if you listen through them, you're going to definitely figure out what my story is for sure.
That's right. Now, this whole conversation turns out, kind of going towards your business acumen and just kind of how you built this thing, which I'm not sure exactly how that ties to where your food comes from for the audience that is coming to this podcast to hear about that. I think the most valuable thing or a thing I just want everybody to think about is Teri and there are other people in the world available to us that can help us find those things that they've already done the work finding and putting together. So find those people that you really can trust and that you enjoy, and then let them help you. I just think that's so... It's kind of a scary thing for people, and I just don't think they should be scared about it. All right, so tell me a little bit about the hot things that are happening in your world right now outside of creating some recipes. What do you think about eating, lifestyles, or Whole30 comes to mind as one? I know you have been around that community. What do you think about these kind of things? Keto, vegetarian?
Yeah, I think really that we're all hopefully on a health and healing journey. Hopefully, not only our exterior, but our interior. Hopefully, we're curious about our internal world and our external world. And I think along that, it's wonderful to try some of these things. I love Whole30. My book, No Crumbs Left, is Whole30 endorsed. You'd have a lot of those recipes and you wouldn't even know they're Whole30 because they're just kind of naturally delicious. I'm a gluten-free person and have been. And that, it's a 30-day program where you're cutting out a whole lot and, just kind of starting things back in again, like legumes and alcohol and sugar and other things. So I think it's great for 30 days. I think it's really, really wonderful. I haven't done keto. I couldn't do, I mean, to me, it's not I get it. And I know I'm sure it works for people, but it's not my jive, right? I want to do things that I feel good about. And I feel good about drinking my 100 ounces of water every day, having a green juice. I feel really good about making real food. By the way, I have a kid that's a vegan and I'm a vegetable enthusiast. Absolutely. But I'm a carnivore. There's no question. So I love meat. I love fish. I love a roast chicken, but I really celebrate, broccolini and my magic elixirs, which are shortcuts to deliciousness. I think in your life, it's really important to try some different things. Like right now I'm doing some intermittent fasting where after 5 o'clock at night, I don't eat until the next day at like 9 or 10, I have my green juice and then I have my breakfast. It's important to just try these things and see what works for your body and what makes you feel good. But I think that a diet that is rich in lots of vegetables, that we're having lots of great water, that we're having fruits, that we're having whole grains, and that we're having protein. For me, it's what makes me feel great, for sure. And I think for each of us, we got to figure out what it is. Along the way, I've done some, vegetarian things. I've, done vegan for a period of time. So I'm 60. I've tried so many things. And I think that's what makes it a rich life, is not to be locked into anything, and to also allow your life to be new, allow information to be new. It's like the pronouns. We can live in a world where that doesn't exist, or we can embrace the world we're living in and learn and see what it's about. My parents were always curious people. They always wanted to learn. My parents had friends my age, younger than me, and they were curious about the world. They didn't know everything. And I feel grateful to have come from people that didn't know everything, that knew that it's okay, to be learning all of the time. So I would say at No Crumbs Left, we embrace all of that. I mean, one of the things, that some of the fun things along the way is, I love to travel. I share my travel stories. People love my travel stories. And along the way, someone's like, oh, I'm a curvy girl. What's your bathing suit? And I was like, oh, it's LeBlanca. And, I tag them, and then LeBlanca got all these people going over there. And I said to LeBlanca, you should partner with me. I mean, I can sell some bathing suits for sure. Yeah, right. So we started a partnership. We partnered last year, and it's really fun because over on the page, we do these LeBlanca, really fun reels and giveaways. And so we did a partnership with them last year. It was a lot of fun. And of course, a lot of just regular people identify with it. It's like, it's okay to feel good about your body, and it's okay if you're not a size 2. We can still celebrate and be imperfect. We can enjoy going to the pool and not be a skinny mini. It is okay to celebrate. And I think that partnership is just like a microcosm for life. So this year I'm doing a partnership with them again. It's been a lot of fun. And it's like, my boyfriend loves it. Really, he's my partner of 14 years. And he's always like, I'm dating a bathing suit model. I mean, right. and we have a lot of fun with it. So it's been fun. Some of these lifestyle brands that I've worked with, like Maiden, I mean, it's a lot of fun because I'm a person, I love kitchen tools. I absolutely love kitchen tools. So it's a natural, and every day people contact me to say, oh, I want to partner with you. I say no to like 79% of what I've asked. But there are, when I believe in a brand, and so right now we're doing more lifestyle stuff. So it's like, Mary Ruth Organics or, Maiden or LeBlanca. It's a lot of fun, to do some of these lifestyle brands. And it's just, we don't want it to get stale and old. So we always have to be just like looking, what is it that's going on in the world and create positive influence. But I mean, did I have women who aren't a size 2 wearing a bathing suit and feel really good about it? I actually think that it's fabulous. And I grew up in a family where making a difference mattered. We were fortunate in the family. So we knew that when much has been given, much is expected. And, my parents made a difference. So it's, and they're gone. And I always feel like if for the rest of my life, I did almost everything right, which I don't, that I still there wouldn't be enough to thank them for who they were for me. Yeah. And so one of the things that I can do is I can make a difference. And we try in small and large ways. Over the pandemic, we collected money for folks that we knew couldn't get groceries. In their model, if there are people that follow along and they sincerely, like, they can't afford a cookbook, but they show up and they're on the page and they're commenting, we would send someone a cookbook. Right. We have our Crumbles, which is our core group. And, we make things available to them, and we appreciate the support that they offer. So, making a difference is also just an important part of the page, for sure.
Oh my gosh. Peterson's resonates with that. All of those things we're just running parallel to each other.
I love that. Like, what are some things you guys are doing that you're excited about?
This is a thing I'm super excited about. Really trying to paint the picture for consumers or really any interested party of where your food comes from by having conversations that are just transparent, honest. I'm not trying to hide things. To be honest, I don't even know if we've worked together. I really don't. I think we might have, but we might not have. I mean, we might not could afford it. Maybe we could. I mean, there's just all these dynamic, interesting things that I love these conversations. So this podcast is really fun, just kind of trying to open the book and saying, here it is, everybody. And We're doing webinars now, or get some kind of top-notch industry experts to come talk about different things, like just confusion within the labeling of products these days, humane treatment of animals. And then people can I feel like I'm kind of uniquely suited to get people right next to experts that they couldn't get next to otherwise. I mean, look, it's not easy to get Teri's time. She's a busy lady. And I'm so grateful she lent it to this podcast, because now people have a chance to hear about her that aren't already familiar, and to go be a part of her community, because I just know it's so welcoming, loving, just free almost. I mean, it's just free, great family.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been, lovely, and I've hugely benefited definitely from the community.
Right.
And I want to say I appreciated. I remember when you came in my inbox and said, I heard that podcast with you and Lucy, and I'm really liking your podcast. I mean, of course, I love when I get a message and someone goes, I really like your podcast. I love that. And so I always really appreciated that. And you definitely sent some love my way. And when, you said this, I was like, let's figure out a way to make it happen. And I know you were patient, because, I had to go to San Francisco and all of that. So I appreciate that you were patient. But I was like, mostly when people ask, I feel like as much as we can say yes, to things, and there's a way to help somebody else elevate also what they're doing, we really, we love doing that. And at the same time, we like saying no to things that we're like, oh no, this isn't, what we want. And by the way, what that means too is, like, if we get the haters that show up, we are like fine saying, Scott, I'm so sorry you don't like to see me eating food on my Instagram page, but best of luck to you. Like we're, and I'm too old. I am too old not to call out that kind of nonsense from people. Like, simply, I know who I am. I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I have no problem calling out something when it isn't okay.
That's right. That's another great piece of the puzzle. I was thinking, oh man, I doubt there's even a chance. And I rolled this around quite a bit. Like, how can I ask her a question that her audience is going to not know already? So I don't think I came up with anything. We already touched on the things that you're kind of up to and excited about. And I really just want people to go check out No Crumbs Left. It's a great, and also I want to be transparent. I called it No Crumbs Left Behind. And Teri's like, no, there's no behind. I love that you're a marketer and salesperson. Like that is important to you. I think for business people listening that are just paying attention to these conversations, don't let people just put the word behind on your brand if it doesn't belong there. It's
natural. I mean, and I'll tell you a story. When I was a little girl, I used to have a lemonade stand. We're talking, 4 years old, lemonade stand every day. Every day I had a lemonade stand. I just loved it. I'd go out and I'd sell my lemonade. And one day my mom, it's just like she had enough of it. And she's like, I'm going to the grocery store. There's no lemonade stand today. And I said, okay. So she comes back from the grocery store. I'm all set up out front. I'm doing my thing. She came and said to me, Teri, I told you no lemonade stand today. What are you doing? And I said, well, this isn't lemonade. She said, what is it? And I said, it's water. And she said, how do you sell water? And I said, I put ice in it. So anyway, that's just, I love the business of people, and I love the fun, and I have no problem picking up the phone. If I feel like there's an opportunity to be had, I have no problem calling, getting in Tastemade's box. At one point they were like, we have this group collaboration that's coming up. And I said, I want to ask you a question. I've seen you partner with a lot of brands, but you guys have never asked me. I would love to do a collaboration with you.
Yes.
You know what? The next week we were doing a collaboration. I mean, I got the whole 30 takeover from contacting them and saying, I would love to do a takeover. Recently, I contacted Food 52 and said, you guys, you collaborate with some of my friends. You never collaborated with me, and I'd love to. And they said, well, we're all full, and I get it, because you got to be willing to be rejected. But I have no problem if I see an opportunity that I think I'm aligned with and I can do, I will ask for it. And recently, there's a company in Chicago that has these screens in hospitals and in PT offices, and they show things about health and recipes and all of this. And I'd see all these people's recipes. So I figured out their number. I called them and said, I'm a Chicago food blogger. You guys are in Chicago. You're featuring all these people. You should be featuring me. I'm a hometown gal. And I met with them and they were like, we want to create a collaboration. Right now, they're only exclusively doing meat. So I'm at Rush Hospital on all the screens. They're promoting my cookbook, which I love. And I give them like 6 recipes a week. And it's just like, it's the most fun. And, that's for the asking. I basically was willing to be completely rejected. And guess what? You are going to be rejected sometimes. But I knew that we could pull it off. And Molly is smart and great. And she's the director of social media. And she has to do the work to get it to them. But it's really been fun and people see it. And it's been a pleasure. So my thing is, the world is ours for the asking. Let's not be shy, so we get rejected. Be willing to be rejected and be curious about life.
That is a great place to drop the mic and say, because Petersons live that same, well, we still live it and we still don't know everything. So all of those things Teri's talked about really ring true for our business and all of our just partners in the industry that are not named Petersons, we're all trying to do a thing so consumers and people get better food and America gets educated. Teri, thank you so much. Everybody.
Such a pleasure. Come find me at No Crumbs Left on Instagram. Is my favorite child. So on Instagram, on the blog, on Facebook, you can find us and it'd be our pleasure.
Yep. We're going to put show notes, all the links to everything in the show notes, her book, her Instagram. If y'all go, tell her hi. You heard about her on the Petersons podcast. Let her know we're sending people her way. All right. Thanks, everybody. Teri, thank you so much.